Here we are again with the Three Alarm Comics with our guys from a shared universe podcast studio and our special guest, Mr. Scott Kolins. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Hey, everybody.
Good to be back, Scott. Good to be back.
Good. Well, Scott, we actually had you on not long ago. It was just me and you playing around, but kind of let some of the people know what's going on. I know you've been working on, I guess, in all this time of pandemic stuff. You've been doing some beautiful sketch covers and having some great prices on those things.
Thank you. Well, that was all help from you, so that helped me get that whole thing going so that I could. Those are just so popular, those sketch covers. So it was really nice to be able to get those from you and have those in stock, so then I could offer it up to people. That was awesome.
Well, cool. Yeah, I'll try to, while we're talking, I'll try to bring up some examples of some of them, because like I said, that Hawkman one, and I don't think it was a sketch cover, but you did one. It was like the Avengers or something, a bunch of stuff. I'd hate to know that
was a
one.
sketch cover.
That was freaking gorgeous.
He wanted to see how many people I could fit on that thing.
Well, never throw down a challenge to Scott Kolins, because he will smash that challenge and he will exceed all your wildest expectations.
Thank you. I try.
Did you have a bunch of Flash sketch covers just laying around the store?
Me?
For me or
no,
the store?
Actually, I sent him the one I had,
okay.
And he was actually kind enough to return it, and I'm bringing it up, downloading it now to bring it up. We're actually going to auction it off. We'll start it off during this stream, and then we are going to use that money to give to Tired Dog Rescue, which is one of our local rescues here for dealing with older dogs. And so yeah, we'll be doing. Let's see, I need to upload that so I can bring it up. You can take a look. If anybody wants to do it, we actually have a separate post on the shop Facebook page. There it is right there. And
how can you not love that?
Yeah, we're doing. I mean, the auction starts right now, and that post on the shop Facebook page, if you go on there, we're just going to start it off at $25 and do it at $5 increments. We'll probably go till probably about 6 p.m. on Sunday. And like I said, all the money, all proceeds, everything, I'll take care of the mailing it. I'll take care of the shipping, and the money will go to the charity.
Such a nice guy, Scott. You're great.
Oh, Mike, I think we lost you again. Can't hear you at all.
Yeah. Sometimes that's not a bad thing. So, okay.
And he's gone.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be
back.
Yeah. For as nice as the stash is, the internet is not that great there, and it's not my fault. I'm not there.
Lost my earbuds.
I'm not there. So, yeah, I didn't know.
We're all having problems.
There he is.
There we go.
Say something, Mike. Yeah, we don't hear you.
We still don't hear you.
He's going to wind up throwing that laptop.
Yeah, that's the fun part about
either a phone or a laptop going through the window and bouncing up and down on the street.
But I was gonna ask you, Scott, have you still all these pieces you've been posting? You still have all the originals from the Grundy stuff?
The original pages of those issues? Yeah, I have most of them. There's, I think, a few over the years, just a couple that I've sold, but I've kept most of them.
Holy crap. Some of those are freaking, I've been watching them like, holy crap. The detail in the background on these things is just stupendous.
Yeah, I went crazy on that stuff. I was having such a good time working on those issues, and that was the first time that DC let me write and draw on a sort of monthly basis, because it was 7 consecutive issues. Plus, I helped with the issue before, and then right after this, we did the 2-part Superman-Batman story that continued with Man-Bat, Bizarro, and Solomon Grundy as well during the whole Blackest Night story. But yeah, that was fun stuff, man. It was a good time.
Let's see if we can hear Mike now.
Yeah, I don't hear him rustling around. So, you have earbuds? Headphones?
It'll figure itself out sooner or later.
Yeah, he might have to jump on with his laptop. He's got multiple devices in that place, so I blame him. I'm not blaming the internet anymore.
Where is he?
He's at the store in Red Bank, New Jersey, the one from the TV show. He's been going on. He got this crazy idea to sell curated blind boxes and they've been taking off. So he's been trapped in there, filling orders. He's been crushed by a wave of orders ever since they announced him. I think yesterday or 2 days ago.
Oh, awesome!
It's been pretty crazy. So,
All right,
Mike,
Can you hear me now?
there we go.
Yes.
Yay!
This is what I get for using my phone before.
Oh, here you go. Here's that picture that Avengers sketch
Oh,
cover
yeah.
he did.
Oh my
That's
god!
Yeah, it's just insane.
And the guy had like 3 more characters, I think. He was just like, if you can squeeze them in, squeeze them in. He had like 5 to start with and said, here are the backups to see how many you can get in there. I think there was Claw and I'm not going to remember now who the other ones were. But yeah, he had a few other ones in there. He's a great fan to have because he keeps popping up with stuff like that. Or you saw those other ones that I did months ago where I would do a whole string of various Marvel and DC guys and
Right.
Bane or all those different things. Those are all that one guy who was ordering all that stuff.
That's insane.
I would have been happy with just the MODOK, but then you got Doctor Doom in there, or you got Thanos, and I thought I saw Doctor Doom in there, and
Yeah.
insane.
Well, let me know. We were talking about if you ever decide to get rid of any more of those Solomon Grundy pages, give a brother a call. I mean, there's dude, I'm telling you, it's freaking phenomenal. Let me see if I can bring another one up, the Solomon Grundy page. There we go.
I grabbed some stuff actually just by accident. Yeah, actually, I do have some stuff here. I used to bring some of it around to cons to show. Yeah.
Scott, was
but
Solomon Grundy the first book that you actually wrote and drew?
The first full book, yes. I had done a couple short stories or stuff before that, but this shows you.
That's awesome.
One of the pages. And then also I would take this stuff to cons. Can you see the rough?
Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah, so I've got a bunch of this stuff that's hanging around.
we may have to talk after this to
You know what I have hanging around my house, Scott? Dirty socks. And
I would have dirty socks hanging around my house, but my dog finds them.
As long as he's not going after the original art.
If you ever make it down here, Mike, we've got. I kind of pride myself. I've been buying original art for longer than most people even knew what it was. I probably got close to about 1,000 pages or so.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of that stuff in the store. It's beautiful stuff.
So yeah,
You're making me jealous, Scott.
Well, when you're lucky enough to know some crazy, incredible, talented inkers like John Dell, and then you get to know people like Scott and stuff like that. You get access to some really nice stuff.
Trust me, I Walt Flanagan has gifted me with a couple of pages, so I'm lucky that way. So,
and I think my favorite one is my Kirby piece. He was in Pensacola. I guess probably about 30 years ago, and a woman brought it in. She did a radio show and did an interview with him. And while he was doing the interview, he drew on a piece of typing paper, Captain Pensacola, which he created right there. And she had kept it all these decades and brought it in. And so, yeah.
You didn't show me that one when I was there.
Yeah, I know. What the hell?
Of course, I might have walked out with that one if I could. So,
where is that right now? What'd you do with it?
Actually, that is one of the few things I keep about 4 things in a safety deposit box. That is one of them.
What are the other 3?
Makes sense.
Are you
I got my X-Men #1, and then I have 2 copies of Amazing Fantasy 15. They were my dad's copies.
Holy!
So what's that?
Your dad had 2?
Well, yeah, when he collected them, there's one he had that was probably, I'd say it's about a very good, and then the other one's actually a beautiful copy. I mean. Quite honestly, I would say it's probably about a 7.5. It's a gorgeous copy.
So yeah, that's worth about conservatively $80,000.
Yeah, that's what I guessed, right around 80 grand. And the other one I figured is probably about 15 grand.
Probably a little bit more in this. Hey, you should have had Stan sign it. I'm sorry, I'm very mercenary when it comes to Fantasy 15. You got access to Stan Lee, have him sign it.
Well, the thing is, after he signed it, like I think I told the story of how a buddy of mine, he signed his Spider-Man #1 and ripped the cover like a 4-inch rip on it. And then, but along the rip, it says ripped by Stan Lee. He went back there and signed it afterwards. But I don't know. I as much as I would love to have it done after being a part of that, I'm like, I don't know about this.
Whoops!
Hey.
Sorry, true believer.
Who knows how much that's if he wrote "Ripped by Stan Lee."
Oh yeah,
How
yeah.
much is that worth? Like, you rip this thing. That's like a story. That's
That's like having kiss blood in it or something. You know, actually having Gene Simmons prick his finger and put his fingerprint on the thing.
I'm sure that the guy thought about stabbing him. So it's like,
hey, Mike, you should try that. Just start ripping comics and then write "Rip" by Mike Zapcic on it and see if anybody if it's worth.
Yeah, and have Walt Flanagan shoot me in the head. That'd be great.
Yeah, just throw one in each one of those curated boxes.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah, I'm running out of stuff. I think, Scott, I might have to call you up and find some backstock because it's actually going pretty well.
I could probably help you out. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah. So Scott, Mike announced a thing where it's tiered, but if you buy like a $25 box, you get $40 worth of stuff.
And it's cool. It's curated. It's stuff that we like. So I gotta have him get his G.I. Joe box out. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, so you can't just throw like a bunch of 1997 comics in there.
No Ultraverse. Sorry, no Ultraverse, kids.
I don't know. There was some good stuff came out of that Ultraverse. Come on. Some beautiful artwork. I mean, you figure George Perez did a lot of those covers.
Well, we also had Warren Ellis doing some writing now, which is great, but it's so subpar to like Planetary or anything else he did, so it's like, wow.
Yeah, well, I can't turn into very niche stuff.
So I know somebody's probably got some. If you have some Atom 3s lying around, Scott can help you out moving some of those.
So Scott, I actually have a question for you. Jeff Johns, one of my favorite writers. I absolutely love whatever he touches. What's it like to work with him?
Terrible. He's the worst.
I have no doubt in my mind.
No, honestly, and I've worked with some really good other partners for writing and all that stuff. Working with Keith Giffen, I work with Robert Kirkman, Paul Levitz. I've worked with some really good creators that really like to work together, but nobody's like Jeff. When I first met him, we immediately started bonding right after I started a couple fill-in issues on Stars and Stripe, his first gig. We met at a San Diego after that, really hit it off, really felt like in a lot of ways we were filling the other half of each other's brain as we were putting these pages together. And then through the happenstance of how the Flash stuff happened, as soon as he officially got the gig, he was down in LA area, of course. I was up in Oakland at that time. No other writer has ever done this besides phone calls or Skyping or whatever. He flew up to where I was. And we spent the whole weekend going over. He'd made a map of Keystone and was talking about the rogues and the villains, all the stuff he wanted to do. Wanted to move Wally from that mansion that he had beforehand into living in the city. He wanted him in the heart of the city, of all that Detroit feel that he wanted to bring to Keystone and stuff. So he has just been great. He was helpful for me learning the writing craft as well as we were doing it. He was always listening to ideas I had, whatever. Just all the way through. He was always using me as a sounding board of crazy whatever thoughts he wanted to go through. Like the first issue where Hunter became Zoom 197 or whatever that was. He had the whole issue inside his head of what he wanted to do, told me what he wanted to do, but he recognized the fact that there would be no Flash the entire issue. There was no Wally, no Linda, none of the rogues, none of the things going on. But we devote this entire issue to the new Zoom guy. And he goes, yeah, you think we can get away with that? Is it going to be okay? Is it cool enough? Is it a great enough idea? I'm like, oh, hell yeah. This is awesome. I was totally, as soon as I read some of his ideas going into it, I'm like, this was going to fill up an issue great. And it's just a great buildup for this giant villain that we had hoped to have, created at the time. And yeah, he went over pretty good.
That's awesome. And just a quick thing. I remember seeing your art first in Legionnaires or Legion of Superheroes. I forget which one it was, but
it was Legion by the point. Yeah.
I immediately saw it and I'm like, this guy's good. I said, he's really good. When I followed you over to Flash, it's like you took a quantum leap forward.
Yes.
Your art just zoomed. Yeah. Zoom.
Well, I mean, some of that was actually, was because of working with Jeff, and that I paired with him like no writer I'd ever paired with before up to that point. But then the actual art style itself changed in that I had started the sketchbook style while I was on Legion of Superheroes, as a matter of fact, where I took out all the shadows and I just did the full figure works. And I thought that would actually work great with Legion with all the super tech and futuristic stuff and everything else. But I was already like in the middle of my run, and I didn't feel like it was fair to the fans to like change it up in the middle of it and throw that monkey wrench in. So I saved it. And when I got the Flash gig, I don't know if you guys had seen that or not, but I had done basically a test issue almost a year before. Was the honeymoon issue of Wally and Linda, and that was with Brian Augustyn writing. And that was more the traditional style that I had up to that point. That was very much, son of Michael Golden and Alan Davis and whatever else influences I had at that time. But when I got the regular monthly Flash gig, then I talked to the editor and I talked to the executive editor, basically editor-in-chief Mike Carlin at that time. And I said, okay, what do you want from me if I'm taking over and doing in the monthly book? What is it you guys need from me as DC Comics for me to do? And Mike's just one of those great guys who just kind of throws it right back at. He goes, I want to see a Scott Collins Flash we've never seen before.
Oh, we got Jeff Johnson wanting to come in here and bomb
Good to see you guys again.
Whoa,
Mr. Johnson.
Back in the house.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt. I just called to say hi.
You're never interrupt.
Go on, Scott. Who are you talking about? Mike?
I was talking about the change in my art style for the Flash gig. So what I did for the Flash then, since they told me that, was, and Jeff was around at that time. We were in the studio together. I took the sketch style that I was playing with that had no shadows in it and brought that in over to the Flash pages. I didn't tell Jeff Johns I was doing this. I didn't tell the editor Joey I was doing this. Nobody knew that I was doing this. And different than today, I held on to my pages for like 2 weeks or something like that, maybe a little longer, until I had almost half the book done. Felt like they were good enough, and I felt proud about them enough that I sent them in then, but I was just chewing my fingernails down to the bone, waiting for them to get the pages and for them to tell me like, we changed our mind. We don't want you on this book anymore. But thankfully, they all responded really well. They were really enthusiastic about it. And then we got lucky, not only with me and Jeff pairing up, but then getting the colors that we had asked for and all that, so that the team of the book really, I think, helped to make all of us look good and make that a really great comic book. I had Sal Gaspar as a letter and stuff. He was awesome. I was doing lettering placements in my stuff back then on the page, old school, the whole thing, giving him an idea what even a logo or the title of the story might be. And Gaspar was it. It's the only time I think ever, I mean, I've texted or written emails back and forth, but the only time Gaspar would call me on the phone and we'd talk about the pages and he'd talk about the whole thing. And it was beautiful. It was such a great experience.
It was like an ensemble cast. It was, I was always a Flash fan. I liked the DC Digest back in the 80s. And, Carmen Infantino, he had the Flash lines. He's the creator of that. They didn't even, I think they aped it in the Avengers a couple times for Quicksilver, but not, not like Infantino would do. But no. He brought Flash to, Mark Waid did a good job. You and Jeff did a phenomenal job. This is like the platinum standard of Flash comics.
Yeah,
well, thank you for that.
You honestly, there are a few people that are their names are synonymous with Flash, and Mike brought up one which was Infantino, and quite honestly, yours is the other.
Yeah.
Well, the other one they had their little run. It just didn't. I don't think lasted long enough. Was Waid and Waringo. When they were working on that.
Beautiful stuff too.
Very true, but Waringo, he had a nice cartoony style. Yours was a little more photorealistic. So, and Ming, didn't we talk to? Who was it? It was Steve Lytle or Greg LaRocque who did the Flash. Was it LaRocque?
I think so. Yeah, that was a long time ago. But
LaRocque did it. Yeah,
2013.
And he said to me, "He's like, I never thought of the Flash as like a runner. I thought of him as like it's teleportation." And I'm like, "No, it's not the Flash."
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, I had him from point A to point B, and that stuff in between, it just didn't matter. I'm like, Yeah, it kind of does.
It matters.
Yeah,
It matters a lot, actually.
like exactly. Like the stuff in between is
well, and that was the challenge half the time when I was drawing that book, was to try and build off of, just like Jeff said, he would build off of Wade's construction of Keystone and Wally and all that stuff that he had solidified so much. Jeff added to it by really playing with the rogues more and making that a thing, part of the book or whatnot. And mine was the same way, where I would look at the Infantino or Raringo or George Perez when he did Kid Flash and Titans, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, what can I do? What hasn't been done? What are the different things, just keep pushing at it, seeing if something fell out or something worked, so that I would be somehow adding to that mythos or the legacy of the book somehow. Yeah.
I always thought too that your choice of doing the more open style for the Flash really, and you had tons of detail, and it was always kind of a Jeff Darrow-y thing. But by taking out the heavy shadows and the line work and having mostly just the holding shape lines, it really sped the book up too. It really made it seem a lot quicker. Like,
I'm not the only one who's got those puns going.
Yeah, I've been working on that one for years. Yeah,
It's gonna be all day.
Yeah.
They'll keep coming the whole time. You can't avoid them.
Yeah.
No, but it's true. It somehow, that was a part of the magic that worked out. It was just that meeting of the minds and everything kind of working at the right time, with all of us coming together, that style worked with everything. It could have easily fallen apart at any moment. We could have crashed and burned like so many other attempts of things have done. But thankfully that one's lasted. And I mean, for crying out loud, it probably helps with Jeff being there, but and such a popular guy he is, but crying out loud, we've got the 8th printing now, or the 10th printing of those books.
Wow.
That's just amazing. Nobody knew that. We sold terrible back in the day.
Not at our shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours too. Flash has always been, as far as DC goes, I mean, Batman's still always kind of been like the top seller, but yeah, Flash outsold Superman for us.
Yeah, us too.
Wow. Well, I never heard that, and the overall sales of Flash didn't reflect it, because, I mean, before we came on, I think we were, I don't know, it was one of those things I think was rumored, but they were thinking about canceling the book then. And our initial sales did not help that rumor going around that it wasn't going to get canceled, because we were only selling like 20,000 or something terrible at that time. But again, Carlin and those guys, they knew what they were doing, and they also believed in putting in the time and letting something grow and work with it, so that they let us, even though the book was selling terribly, they let us go for a full year or 2 years until things got a little bit better. They believed in the book.
Well, do you think
they knew what they were doing?
Do you think the TV show coming in, gave you probably a big boost as far as the sales on the comic book?
You mean the resales now? Yeah, I'm sure that has stuff to do with it too. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, because you were right in the middle. You were around doing the book long before the TV show came out, and then right around the same time as it came in, and I'm sure sales went up tremendously after the initial bump of that series.
I think it affects it a little bit in general with the monthly book too. That's always been a better seller these last few years for DC in general, with Joshua writing that book, and he was doing a great job. But that's just funny because, my time with Jeff was like in between. We missed the 90s TV show Flash, and then we weren't around necessarily for this new one in the last 5-7 years, whatever it's been running now. But with it being in there, then there's call for that Flash material to be printed, so it's great.
Well, then you also, the Shazam stuff you've been doing is freaking gorgeous as well.
Yeah, that stuff's crazy good.
Yeah.
So that's another lifelong, dream that I've been waiting for it to happen, waiting and fighting and yelling at people at DC for me to get my chance or whatever. So, and again, it only happened by happenstance in some ways, where I had open time in my schedule and Jeff reached out because they were running late and they needed someone who could draw fast. So then I slip in that way, but then I don't know if I really saved him that much on the deadlines, but I just went crazy on anything he gave me, especially because, again, like Jeff did with Flash, where he was world building with Keystone and the Rogues and all that stuff. He's doing the same stuff on Shazam. He's taking a little more time to do it, but all the other realms and the lands they can go to, all those magic lands and stuff, it's so much fun. Really cool stuff.
Well, one of the things I love too I'm lucky because I get to see Scott's stuff before it sees print. So he sends me the pencils and the pages. It's usually just showing off, but
hey, you want to show off to me?
No. I just used him this morning. I had a sketch I was working on, and I said, "Wait, did I like fist A or fist B in this pose that was going on?" And of course, he picks the fifth that I didn't want to do. So now I've got to do the one I didn't want to do because Jeff's always right.
It does look better. You know, it's you don't give me the option. Well, one of the things that Scott does better than I think almost anyone in the business is his sense of scale is it's epic. And he's always able to show, if you need to show Flash running through the whole city, he'll show him running through the whole city. Like, he never cuts those corners. So you always get to see everything. And I think that really makes the hero more believable. Like, if you can see the context that the hero is existing in, that he's doing his thing in, it just makes it easier to swallow. Like, you're like, oh, that's Flash running all over the city. So that makes sense to me now. And like the Shazam,
it makes insurers hate you, though.
Oh yeah, it does make luckily you luckily you don't
that
have
was the one where
anymore. Yeah.
When I did that Grodd story at the beginning, which we had to fight for, DC editorial was not hot on us doing Grodd to start it with. But when we Jeff and I talked about it, and we wanted to have all the destruction and him just being this raging monster and all that. Jeff wrote that 2-page spread toward the end of the thing that was supposed to show the whole trail of Grodd's destruction through the city. And I did it. I went crazy. I spent, a few extra days working that all out. And my inker hated me for that one. Oh, man. He was so mad because it would literally drive him nuts where he could only work on it for like a couple hours at a shot. Then he had to go away and do a different page or something like that and come back to it and go away and come back to it because there was so much stuff going on. But it worked. It was good.
That out. That trail of destruction that you had Grodd do when he escaped from the lockdown when they were taking him to Iron Heights. It was epic. And Jeff pointed it out perfectly. You made it seem like, holy crap, if that was my neighborhood, I'd move.
Yeah. And that was the one where Jeff has pointed out in the past too, that he said, oh, well, you did that one? All right, now you're stuck. Now you got to get, I'm going to give that every 3 or 4 issues where you have to do those citywide pans or whatever they were. Once he found out I was willing to put in that effort and do that crazy stuff and apparently do it well enough, and he's like, okay, we're going to keep doing it then.
Yeah, I mean, that is the price of doing something well. You're going to get asked to do it all the time.
I think I already told you this, Jeff, but I had that story where right as I was finishing up my Flash run, I was at a Baltimore con signing with Jeff Johns, but freaking George Perez came up to my table and he wanted to see the stuff that was going on. He had heard stuff, so he came over, and I was completely blown away and honored that he would walk up to my table. But then he looked at the stuff and he goes, when you start this, they're going to expect it all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, no one knows better than him, right?
He would know.
Right, exactly.
He would know.
Well, Scott,
word coming from the wise.
Daniel is asking, does it make it more difficult to draw the comics without feeling as if your work is being compared, say, to the TV series and the way the characters are being depicted, or does it help? Interesting
question. I'm aware of the TV influence on some of the stuff, but I think because I came around beforehand for all those years, drawing the Flash without anything like that of the TV show influencing how I was doing it, it doesn't change too much for me. It hasn't changed much of that. It may bolster me once in a while to make sure that, even though I thought I was going crazy with the Lightning back in the early 2000s with the original run, that I have to go even crazier now if I can with the Lightning. And seeing what other guys are doing on the book as well, like Howard Porter and stuff like that. He's doing such brilliant work. But he's also doing, I think, a lot of his stuff on the computer, drawing on the computer. So he can go to certain levels with the Lightning that are really hard to do on paper. And I'm still mostly a paper guy.
We were speaking of Shazam earlier. I kind of wanted to bring this up, just kind of give people an idea. This is just, just beautiful work. The backgrounds, the 4 figures, everything is just great.
And that was one of those fun pieces where that was one of the first pieces I got to draw actually for him when he sent me script stuff and I was going to help out with a full issue of doing something. And I sent him the pencil of that before I'd finished it and done my digital inking or whatnot and made the copy out enough to DC. I sent the pencils to Jeff at one point, and he's so nice. All he texted back was, "I love you."
I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I got somebody at the door, and I'm not going to turn away money. So continue.
No, don't turn away money.
Go get him.
Do you get so when Jeff? I haven't seen a Jeff script in a long time, but I remember them being pretty tight. Are these? He still write pretty tight scripts?
fairly tight, but not as tight as they used to be. In fact, I don't know if he's thinking the shorthand of the artist he's working with monthly on the book, and that they already may have some language in place of how they handle stuff. But there were certain things I did have to ask him when I was doing the Shazam stuff, where he'd say something about the house, or he'd mention some other locations or something like that. And I'm going like, okay, wait, is that a place we've already been? Is that a place I'm making up? What do you want from this place? What's the mood of it? That kind of thing. And in the old days when we were working on Flash, he was always telling me exactly, the reference it came from. If we're doing Iron Heights or something like that, he'd tell me which kind of cell he's looking for, or much more exactly descriptive. So he's a little looser now, but that also combined with the fact that he probably may thinking that, as usual, our minds meet on that stuff. Like that 2-page spread that Scott Heverman just showed. There were certain liberties that I took with that in the placing of how to do things. And I did basically the things I think, hopefully, that Jeff was actually expecting to have happened. Like the Z in the middle of that frame, I made bigger, and I made Billy himself bigger than the rest of the family that was around it, because he's the lead character. But Jeff didn't say that in the description of the page. He just wanted Billy in the center spot, which was trouble itself, because then you're putting Billy in the actual spine of the drawing when it's a 2-page spread. So I had to put him a little bit on one side or a little bit on the other side to make it work. But yeah, he's a little looser now, but it's still, if you get him talking about it, you'll get all the detail you ever need.
Right. Yeah, you're still talking a fair amount, right? You guys still talk about the scripts and you still discuss stuff?
While I'm working with him, there's constant contact of different things going on. Me sharing stuff for us, texting ideas back and forth, or whatever's going on with it. But he's a busy man, so if I'm not directly working with him on a script that week or that month or whatever, I may not hear from him for a month or two or whatever, and then we'll check in with each other and see that we're both alive and doing well.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. His new show drops soon, right? Isn't it going to be on?
Isn't it like May 5th or May 10th?
Right.
Stargirl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You worked on that book too, right, Scott? Didn't you do stuff on that?
Yeah. I mentioned it earlier. That was the first work that I worked on with Jeff, was a few fill-in issues of Stargirl. In fact, it was only supposed to be one fill-in to give the regular artist time to catch up a little bit on the deadline. But it went over so well. Jeff and I got along so well, and the editor liked it so much that they were like, yeah, you know what? A regular guy could probably use another fill-in. And then I was laughing at the time, because then it turned to 3 fill-ins. Like, okay, he's got to have been caught up by now.
What is he taking?
Some people are not as fast as you, Scott. Right.
Well, I mean, you never know what's going on with stuff. You never know if somebody has a family emergency or, other things going on. All sorts of stuff can happen. So, there's been issues where I've worked on various books at Marvel, like I was working on Marvel Team Up, how that was finishing up, and Thor Blood Oath as next thing, or Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I forget. In fact, Jeff helped me on some layouts for some of those books. But they would actually crisscross in how they actually got printed. I would have finished book A before book B, but then book B gets printed first because whatever is going on with their publishing schedule. So it's always, a mishmash of, you never know when somebody worked on something.
Right. Hey, guys, I just wanted to call and say hello. I'll let you get back to chilling out. Doing your thing.
Back to work, Jeff.
And just for everybody know, Jeff will probably stop by tomorrow, and hopefully Scott too. When we do, we're going to say since Free Comic Book Day has been kind of postponed, canceled, or whatever this year, we just decided basically this morning to want to still do something for the fans. Mike, if you'd like to come by for a little while as well, we're just going to do a live stream from 11 to 6. And
okay. I thought you'd
pop in, pop out.
Store. Why don't I stop by the store, Scott?
Yeah, sure. Why not? And bring that
15-hour drive.
But
hop and skip. Come on.
Yeah, right. We're letting everybody come in. We're just kind of offering a platform where a lot of the guests we normally would add here for Free Comic Day, plus some of the people we love, like Scott and Jeff and you two, and just pop in whenever you want and pop out whenever you want. And, maybe, if you got prints, Jeff and Scott, artwork you want to sell, bring it up on there and just do it through mail order. And, we're just kind of have fun with the day, since it's a holiday that comic book fans absolutely adore. To have it taken away from them is like saying there's not going to be Christmas this year.
I know, it's sad.
Yeah.
Free Christmas,
yes. Free Christmas. All right.
Free Christmas. You don't have to get anybody else anything.
Later on. Okay.
All right, Jeff. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye.
And Scott, I feel bad for you. I know. I mean, you already threw a huge party. It was pretty. I was very impressed. I got to go down there a couple of years ago, and not for nothing, you probably made a couple bucks that day as well. just throughout your efforts. So it stinks that it's not happening this year for sure, like all around the world, really.
I mean, we do okay with it, but honestly, I've always viewed it this way: is it's more of a way to say thank you to the people that have kept us in business throughout the year. And we even do it where like our subscriber base. They are like our VIPs, so we allow them in early before the general public comes in. They get their first chance at any of the books. They get their first chance to meet some of the artists, like Jeff and Scott were here last year. So they get a chance to come in first. Plus, we usually do like an after-hours party, and at different breweries or different places that want to have us and help us out. And we give our subscriber base, like I said, basically the people that keep our doors open and keep us going. Give them the opportunity to have something a little bit special that Joe Blow, who just shows up the one time of the year to get their free books and leave, get.
We have a term for them. I'm not going to say it here, but we have a term.
Yeah, Mike, what are they going to do this year without their free books?
What are people going to do?
What are they going to do?
They're going to sit at home is what they're going to do. They can, you know what? I'm sure we'll make it up to them during the year. So,
well, we've got some past year's books and stuff that we have. So I think like anybody that wants to come by, we'll just have some of them pre-bagged up. And if somebody wants to come by and pick some up, we'll just throw them in a bag and they won't be able to choose what they're getting, but they can still get their free comic book day books.
Oh, that's nice of you, Scott. Usually I like the other Scott. Unfortunately, most of our reservists know not to come in on free comic.
Right, ours do too, but you never know with the other ones.
I got you, but there are people we only see on free comic.
Oh yeah.
You see them once a year. It's like, see you next year. It's like, yeah, you will. Great. It's like, I'll take 6 of each. It's like, no, you won't.
No, yeah.
See, that's the thing too. We, for our regulars, we kind of let them have what they want, and then for everybody else, we limit it to like 3 to 5 per person, and that type of thing.
Well, we know what our reservists like, so I pack it in their boxes, and they can pick it up at their leisure. And usually, we get them ahead of time, so they'll get it with their weekly books. So they'll get it ahead of time, and then other people are like, "Why does he get those?" And I'm like, "Because I don't see him just once a year, and that's why."
Mm-hmm.
Because I know his name. He's a friend.
Yeah. One of the things we started doing was with our racks we have here, we put them on tiers. So we have the books we know that everybody's going to want. We put those on the top tier. Then we have the mid-tier ones and then the bottom tier. And we can let them choose like 1 from the top tier, 2 from the middle, and 2 from the... So that way you don't run out of all of the X-Men or the Superman or the Star Wars. They're it gives everybody a chance to get one.
Next time, Scott, we should do the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade thing. That only a penitent man will pass, and they have to go through.
Oh, you're gonna set up like a gauntlet. There's gonna be like the Mike Zapcic
gauntlet.
I'll make a huge aluminum foil ball that we can roll over them, and
that'd be there. You go.
You could even make that for your different levels of getting stuff. You could ask them like trivia questions of comic books or something like that. See if they're really a comic book fan or that kind of thing, and then they can get the prized rarer ones or whatever it is. Yeah,
that was on the TV show. That was on the movie. That wasn't in the comic. Next.
Exactly.
The last challenge is you have to survive the Mike Zapcic spanking machine, and then you can get.
I just call all my wrestling friends. They come down here and they're like, I've been callousing up my hands for 6 months.
Yeah, Mike likes spanking people. It was like the end. It's like a Dazed and Confused with he's got his paddle. He's got his comics paddle.
Well, Scott, Daniel also asked, what was your favorite run to work on, and what would you consider to have been your best work up to this point of your career?
Hey, Daniel, with the hard questions, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is
favorite child.
Exactly. I was just about to say, it's like that question, your favorite child. Because I really do take a lot of pride in most of the runs and most of the books I've been on. They were all good to me at one time or another for various reasons. But to nail it down to a few, of course, the run with Jeff on Flash is going to go down as one of the great times. And encapsulated in that, I'm going to include Rogue's Revenge, because that was our return to that material. And we just had such a good time working on that book. But in that also, I'm going to list Solomon Grundy, because it was the first time I got to write and draw a book for a major thing. And it was a monster and all that other good stuff for me. It was great. And then third, I would have to to make that top 3, I would have to do the Atom Point 3. Even though it didn't get finished and it didn't do all the things I was hoping for it, it was, again, so much fun, so much freedom. I tried to do a bunch of new stuff with it, taking what I had learned from writing and drawing and putting that all in there, and yet having that incredible experience of trying as best I could to build something from scratch. A whole
and
world
an absolute
itself.
beautiful book on top of that.
Thank you. But that building from scratch stuff, Jeff Johnson and I would talk about all the time. He's done it a few times as well. That makes you appreciate those guys way back when, the Ditkos and Kirbys and Infantinos and Julius Schwartz and all those guys that had to build this stuff up almost from nothing, from blank slates of whatever they did. Really makes you appreciate the level of what they were able to do while still doing that from basically the zero count of like, okay, we only know Reed Richards from this issue of Fantastic Four. We're handing it right now. And the next issue. You don't have 30 years of backlog of information of the best stories or the worst stories of Peter Parker or any of those things beforehand. These guys built that stuff from scratch. So it really makes you appreciate what they did with that stuff even more beyond the greatness that it was. The idea to build it was just incredible.
Well, once again, I want to bring this up real quick. That sketch cover that's going to be auctioned off. We might as well use the platform while we can. And everybody knows that they can go on the 3 Alarm Comics Facebook page, and there's a post for it. Bidding starts at $25. Scott was nice enough to send us some of these sketch covers, and we want to use one of them to raise money for Tired Dog Rescue, which helps older dogs and dogs with problems and things like that around here. So you go on the store's Facebook page, and the bidding begins now, and we'll go till Sunday at 6 p.m.
The bidding begins.
And I'm sure you and I and everybody will share stuff on social media after we get off this as well to make sure everybody knows.
Hell yeah, cool. Scott, just shoot that over to me.
Yeah, you want that. You look like he's about to run off the page right there. It's pretty amazing.
I don't know. I'm telling you right now, I got to find it on Scott's page, but he did a Hawkman that was also he did something that not a lot of people do, and they take the image and run it over onto the back part of the sketch cover. And
what's this freaking wings, man? You always run out of room for the wings. You can never get all the wing in the panel of the picture or the splash page or whatever you're doing. And it always drives me nuts. And there I was like, oh, well, I have the back part. I could put more of the wing. So
it's freaking gorgeous. Here it is. I'll be download it so I can put it on here. But
also loved your run on Brave and the Bold. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
When you did Hawkman meeting Nightwing, it's like, that is awesome. There's two guys that have never met except when Robin was Robin and leader of Teen Titans. And that was one of my favorite Perez things. I'm like, oh my God, look at Hawkman. But for me, it freaked me out because the beak was like right up here in the eyes. So Hawkman's eyes would have to be around here. Yeah,
there
exactly.
It is, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
But I'm like,
yeah, thank you. That. Yeah, I always liked his helmet being technologically or magically or whatever enhanced so that his eyes aren't actually seeing through like somewhere in the mask of the eyes. Some people like that where they have Hawkman, so the Hawk eyes are actually right in front of Carter Hall's eyes. But I like the idea that the Hawk eyes are actually like up here on the mask.
He's looking through the nostril.
And you're like, how does that work?
He might have been.
Yeah. Right. But to me, it gave him an air of like a little bit golden age or something, but the idea that he was a mystery guy, you could see a little bit more of his face, and it wasn't just another masked guy that was out there. And I always loved Hawkman. Hawkman was one of those books that actually, while Jeff and I were finishing up our little bit of Stars and Stripe and before Flash started, we were putting a pitch together on Hawkman to do it at that time.
That's awesome. I would have liked seen what your take would have been. I mean, I loved Rags Morales's, but
oh yeah.
But
yeah, they did a beautiful book at that time, and I was extremely jealous of all that stuff going on. And here's another one. That's why it comes out on that sketch cover, is that I've only gotten to draw a Hawkman just a bare few times in any of the printed books I've done. So,
well, when Wally met him and they were doing that little back and forth, your uncle would have been proud of you, and you're like the. You know what they say about you? They say that, you're the, what was I can't even remember the exact quote, but essentially it's like you're the one who lived up to the legacy of his mentor.
Yeah.
So that was the gist of it. I'm like, wow, that's really cool that Hawkman would say that. And, Hawkman didn't really say stuff like that.
Right. And that was that delicate balance that Jeff was doing. Because even at that point, he knew a voice for Hawkman that was really great, where Hawkman was really a bit of a hard ass in all of it. And having that kind of like violent undertone that we kind of pushed in there as well. So he is much more of a Conan with wings on some aspects. But yeah, and that's one of those core parts of why I think so many of us enjoyed Wally and his unique position in the DC universe, even possibly more than Dick Grayson, even though those are the two guys that did really grow up in the whole DC universe. All of us fandom got to see them grow up and become adult superheroes the whole bit. But Wally was the guy who literally filled the shoes of his mentor before him. It was a really unique place to be for comic books.
Yeah.
There's not many of the sidekicks that took over the mantle.
Yeah. Almost none. And any that have done it before, I mean, obviously Wally's not there now, but Wally held onto it for quite a long time, where anybody else that does it, it's usually a 6-month stunt or a year at the most or something like that.
Yeah, like Prodigal.
Where they do something like that. Right.
Well, that was guys. So you we're talking about the Legion stuff earlier, and I got to bring this up. This is one of the gorgeous piece. But how did you feel about working on? You also worked on Avengers and a few other ones, but working on a single character versus an entire team of stuff. What's the dichotomy of that? Do you prefer having just one character, or do you like to be able to tell the story for him, or do you like having a group? Do you have a nice supporting cast and things like that?
Well, that's the kind of a misnomer, the thought about it, whether you're dealing with a group book or a single main character. If you have the single main character, then mostly the group of people around him, his subordinates or helpers or loved ones or whatnot, those become the other cast members that you basically almost use in the same fashion, or they're drawn nearly as much as the supergroup. They just may not be in that same fight scene as the supergroup of a Justice League or Avengers or whoever fighting. I like both for those different reasons. If I had to pick between the two,
again, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Actually, I'm going to do this to him, Scott. Scott, I actually have to run.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to meet you. I hope we get to talk again.
Nice meeting you too, man.
Thanks so much, Ming.
Absolutely.
Why don't you talk to Scott? He's the man.
Yes, I will for sure.
You have to.
Okay,
now.
cool.
Ming, I will see you later. Scott, thanks again. I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Scott, what are you literally working on right now? Are you actively drawing right now? Are you one of those guys who can multitask and draw and have something in the background or draw?
At this moment right now? No. No, I'm not doing that. My artboard's over there right now. What am I working on right now? I've been working on a whole lot of these sketches, commissions, and stuff for people online that I've been doing stuff for, which has really been a nice breather from working on just the tons of comic book pages that I've done. But I'm mixed working on stuff right now. I've got some more Flash scripts. So I'm doing some more stuff with Joshua on current Flash things, a little bit of that. And Jeff and I have a proposal in for a new DC book of an old character.
Okay.
And we're waiting for the okay on that one. And in amongst that, Jeff and I are also working on a secret project on the side that we're kibitzing on, and exactly where we're going to take it, what we're going to do with it. That's awesome. It's a mix of stuff right now between regular printed stuff for DC, sketch commissions, and then world building stuff.
Right. Are you full up on that commission list? Is it still open? Are you still taking commissions right now?
I keep making more room. So yeah, I keep taking more commissions. I've been able to do enough of them per day, per week kind of a thing that I cut down on that list enough that, yeah, I take more. There's a couple more guys that were just contacting me last night and this morning. In fact, I was just looking up shipping rates to New Zealand last night because this guy from New Zealand wants one.
When we get done with this, don't sign off too quick. I'll pull up some I know you asked about wanting some other DC ones. I'll see what we've got, and I can show you on here. You can just pick which ones you want.
That's
awesome! Thanks.
For anybody who wants one, how can they get it? A commission?
Find me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Message me through there.
Okay.
And yeah, it's easy to do.
And his prices are insane. I mean, I'll let you deal. They can direct message you and get the prices direct from you. But I know for a fact that the prices are completely crazy right now.
I ran a bunch of sales to see how some things would go because I was doing a special thing a couple weeks back. I'm thinking about doing it again soon, just because it went over that well, and I get more requests for it. But I did a bunch of flash drawings, but they were all based off of the same underdrawing, so that since I could do more of it in that way, some people who couldn't afford my regular rates could afford those cheaper ones because they were all based off of kind of the same drawing. But that was an interesting challenge to do. I think I wound up doing like 9 or 12 of them.
Well, I said, I'm glad I got a hold of one. So, I mean, of course, now we can somebody else can get their hands on it as well. So,
there you go.
Ming got a question for you. Daniel says he's a huge G.I. Joe fan. Or I'll let you can read it. Go ahead.
Ming, I'm also a huge G.I. Joe fan. So when you bought the USS Flag, it made my day. I had that as a kid and loved it. It was cool seeing it being set up again. Yeah, I in the back of my head, I was like, whoa, man, that was a toy that cost a lot of money, and the only kid I knew who had one was the kid who lived behind me who I didn't like very much, but his parents had just split up, so he was able to pit them against each other until he was a $100 7-foot plastic aircraft carrier, and
wow.
I had, they say jealousy always works against you, but I disagree. I was very jealous, but 30 years later, I was able to get one for myself. So
cool.
It only took 30 years. I love that.
Scott, Claw's asking, is there any chance you'll ever burn out on the Flash? He liked Manupul's run, or his take on the character. It seemed to have a long run, but started writing and then left abruptly. Right.
They wound up doing major changes to the book and major changes to the DC universe again, I think around that time. Will I ever burn out on the Flash? I guess I'd have to say no, because there are different times where I thought I might have reached that point. Like actually a little bit around the time that I left the first time and did other books after my time with Jeff the first time around, after 200. But you know what? Every time I come back to the book and I'll try it again, going like, sure, what not? They asked, I'll give it another shot and see if there's anything left in the tank. And yeah, every time I do it, I still find stuff that's interesting, fun to do about it. Joshua's take is different from Jeff's take or whatnot. Or we get the opportunity, like Jeff and I got to team up again for Flash 750, and we did a Captain Cold story. And super easy, super fun. It just rolled off the tongue from us. We didn't have to fight. We didn't have to think and argue about this or try a whole bunch of ideas to see what finally happened. We just talked about the idea very briefly over the phone. We went, yeah, brilliant. Let's do that. It's easy.
Cool. Well, guys, thank y'all for coming by. We're almost at an hour, and I don't want to get too crazy because if we're going to do this some more tomorrow, I want to leave some gas in the tank for that stuff.
Yeah, and definitely follow Scott on Instagram. It's like a digital portfolio, basically.
Oh yeah, stuff's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, so it's Instagram.com. It's at Scott Kolins. Very easy to remember, and wow, this is beautiful for sure.
Thank you so much, and it was really. I got to thank a little bit to the 3 Alarm Comics again for my copy of this thing. I haven't had a trade copy in years and years and years. And he found a great copy for me. But that has also inspired me to then start posting all those pages of the interior stuff. And I'm going to try and run through the whole series and keep posting them.
Well, cool. Well, good. Y'all stick around for a second, but everybody's tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Stay tuned. Like tomorrow, we're going to do our version of a online live stream free comic book day. And we're going to have a lot of people coming in for that. And like some of the people I know we have, Mike Grell's going to be coming in for a while. Roland Paris. We have a few actors coming in. Jason London and Jeremy London. They'll be coming by. I think Jason's actually going to be here in the shop with me because he wants to get out of the house. Jeff Johnson once again will be coming in. Ming's going to come by here and there. Mark Ryan. So y'all stay tuned, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody.